guys want to Beware the Awakening, took a quick cannon featuring N's Darmanitan, Salvatore, and Boomerang energy combo, basically doing a first turn snipe, hitting 90 base damage to your opponent's active, plus 90 more to one of your opponent's bench, with flame body cannon for 2 fire and 1 colorless. With our N's PP up, Ho EX and Energy Switch for the acceleration, our 𝑘𝒂𝒓𝒄𝒂𝒓𝒄𝒂𝒓𝒄𝒂𝒓𝒄𝒂𝒓𝒄𝒂𝒓𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂 4 Ultra Ball, and the Precious Trolley to pull out our basics. Next, we've got 1 Team Rocket's Persian EX as an additional attacker with Salvatore, 1 Bloodmoon Ursaluna EX to do big damage late game, 1 Powerglass, 2 Call Bell, and 3 Earthen Vessel with 10 basic fire and 3 Boomerang energies. So that's all for the deck list. Now let's go for some gameplay and see how well this deck works. Okay, let's go for our first game with Quick Cannon. Darmanitan is coming to play with Flame Body Cannon. So if your opponent have a primary attacker in the active along with like another GP on their bench or another Impidimp, you know, hopefully they have one in their active as well. If you get 2 important knockouts with your first hit, then you get to possibly use your Flame Body Cannon a second time on your next turn if you get your Powerglass. So for this game, we have Secret Box instead of our Precious Trolley. Just because this is the early couple games that I played with, you know, Darmanitan, with the new Darmanitan Ho-Oh combo. But then eventually I decided to play the Precious Trolley Ace Pack just because we actually need to bench quite a couple basic Pokemon, basic EXs at that. There's no Puffin. Puffin doesn't allow you to bench your Latias, your 𝑧𝒄𝒂𝒓𝒄𝒏. We need our Nest Ball, Ultra, and also that Precious Trolley. So Artisan doesn't work as well. And if your opponent plays Ditto with Fenro, Tom, Artisan, Buddy Puffin, it's actually not that easy to bench your Latias along with Ho-Oh and 𝑧𝒄𝒂𝒓𝒄𝒏 while pulling out your Darumaka into play. Secret Box does get you the tool card and the stadium though, but now that we have no more stadium and only 1 Powerglass, I don't think we should be too worried. We have an extra Call Bell as well to get our Salvatore. The Powerglass though, if we could add an extra Powerglass and a Town Star, it would be great, but I can't really find the space for it unless you want to cut out the Persian. So yeah, there's definitely room for improvement for the final list. You guys get to modify or update as you see fit. However you like, you can change the ace spec as well. But I kind of prefer the Trolley, honestly. Because even Ogerpon Raging Bolt does Trolley. Ogerpon has the bug catching set though, but you're only allowed to do 4 copies of that thing. And if you have... Raging Bolt actually plays 3 different energies as well, so they might not have that many basic grass energy at that in their deck. If they have at least 10 copies though, it may actually be worth playing the bug catching set. Anyways, back to the game. Now we got our first ends PP up for the acceleration. We just need an energy switch, another PP up with the Boomerang, or another basic energy. It's not that easy to get our Powerglass unless if you have the Secret Box. For this game we did get the Powerglass though, because we are actually doing 2 copies I think along with the Secret Box, so that was a kind of a big luxury. When you start off with the first couple games building a fresh new deck, they always give you the best odds. Like, I've played this game many times to realize that the first couple games, probably 4 to 5 or even the first 3 games especially, you're gonna get the best hand ever, and then after that reality starts sinking in, and then you start getting normal to average hands, average to bad hands, which is kind of a simulation of reality. Like in the real life card game, you would get such odds, like, you know, decent odds, and then with the decent odds it becomes really anticlimactic, you know. In a way, you start to doubt yourself just because you're like, wait, I thought this deck was good because the first couple games we actually did pretty well, but then that was all an illusion, you know. It's like Casino 101. Like, no joke, honestly, this game is a lot like gambling. The first couple runs that you do with any deck is gonna have very high success rate, and then after that you start losing games over and over and over, not knowing why, even after you update the list. Like, it's a total mindfuck. It's crazy. It makes you go crazy because you start to believe, you start to get delusional though. The first couple games when you get crazy wins, crazy good odds with the first deck that you build, the first variation, you start to overestimate your ability. And then after that, it's like a never-ending downward spiral. It's brutal, you know, this game is brutal. It's just every time though, I always fall for the same trick. Maybe I just need a break, you know? Sometimes like over grinding can do some serious damage to them brain cells. Like I cannot just day in day out play this game. I need a break. Hence the late post. Sorry guys. But I'd much rather post something of quality late than post frequently, but content that's just redundant or, you know, not very insightful or not very breakthrough, nothing impressive. I would prefer to challenge myself than to just follow the meta or, you know, play the strongest dumb combo, like the basic bitch combos. I don't want to do that. That's not what this channel is all about. Like, I think we all know that already. This game is actually in standard though, the casual standard form. So I got a bit bored with playing ranked, and now we actually went to a casual battle against 𝑺𝒄𝒂𝒓𝒍𝒂𝒂𝒓. Doesn't matter if it's ranked or casual, it's the same thing, guys. You never know if the top tournament players are actually going casual just to improve their deck build. So, but yeah, we got our 𝑽𝒊𝒐𝒍𝒂𝒂𝒓𝒄 in hand with Salvatore, Nest Ball, Ultra. I'm really thinking carefully here what to discard with my first Earthen Vessel. I don't think we should play the second Vessel though. So if we discard the Salvatore, we would probably get either the Call Bell or the second copy with the 𝑧𝒄𝒂𝒓𝒄. So I'm thinking we should just discard the Salvatore. Although if we discard the Vessel, we could then play or the 𝑽𝒊𝒐𝒍𝒂𝒂𝒓𝒄 maybe. We could then play the Ultra Ball to discard the energy, and then search out the 𝑧𝒄𝒂𝒓𝒄, bench Darumaka, play the 𝑛𝑠, and then use Salvatore, immediately evolve the Darumaka before playing our 𝑧𝒄𝒂𝒓𝒄 to draw 6 cards, hopefully getting another ball or Precious Trolley for our second 𝑽𝒊𝒐𝒍𝒂𝒓𝒄. We only have 3 copies of 𝑽𝒊𝒐𝒍𝒂𝒓𝒄 though, so maybe we should not be discarding it. Let's just bench it. I think we discarded the Salvatore. We're gonna go for the Ultra Ball here to discard our energies. And then, should we actually play the second Vessel though? I think we should. Because that actually compresses the deck. It removes more energies, basically increasing the chances of us getting our Salvatore from the discard draw with 𝑧𝒄𝒂𝒓𝒄. Because that's all we need though. We just need that one supporter for us to do the snipe and win the game right here on our first turn going second. We don't even need the Powerglass because they don't have a second bench Pokemon. And their active doesn't have a charm or anything to boost its HP. And that means 90 damage on both Pokemons in play is enough to take out for a full board wipe. So now we're gonna play Golden Flame with Energy Switch. And the PP up for Turbo Acceleration, Mega Turbo Patch. So here comes the draw, and we did get Salvatore. Oh yeah, jackpot. Got the Darmanitan. Have the free retreat with Latias in the active, thanks to playing 4 copies of it with the trolley. We managed to pull out 3 of the right bench Pokemons for us to play Flame Body Cannon, doing a Snipe for double KO on our very first turn, which is pretty amazing, right? If you don't get Darmanitan, if you get your Energy Switch, you can actually play your Meowth, Salvatore on your Meowth into your Team Rocket's Persian for you to copy any attack from the top 10 cards of your opponent's deck. On your very first turn, it actually does a lot though, just because they can't actually evolve their Pokemon yet. On their last turn, on your opponent's last turn, it was actually their first turn, and that means they are not allowed to evolve into their stage 2. They have a lot of probably at least 3 copies of their stage 2 in their deck, like Dragapult with Charizard maybe, or Dragapult Pidgeot. You could actually copy Hydreigon's attack as well. You could, if they play Tatsugiri, you could copy Blaziken EX's attack or whatever they have at the top 10 cards of their deck. So it's actually still a pretty good deal if you manage to pull out your Persian instead of Darmanitan with your Salvatore. But make sure to check though, just because we are only playing one copy of Meowth and the Persian in this deck. We got no redeemable ticket, we got no Sacred Ash anymore, so we're not actually able to shuffle back. If we discard the Persian from our hand, if we have it in our hand, we can't actually play Salvatore, obviously. So there is the risk of not being able to play your Persian to attack, but the main attacker that we want to be pulling off, the main strategy of this deck revolves around Darmanitan's Flame Body Cannon anyways. So that's basically a bonus. If you get to do Persian, if you want to do Persian on your first turn, yeah, you make sure to look for your Energy Switch though, just because ends PP up obviously does not work on Team Rocket's Persian, right? On that note, I think I'm just going to end the voiceover right here because focus on the game. Please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already if you enjoyed this combo. Also, comment down below your thoughts on maybe adding a couple Venture Bombs to the list, just because we actually started off with quite a few copies of that card in our first variation of this deck. But eventually decided to remove it completely since it fucked up with the consistency quite a bit. But anyways, we'll see you next time. Have a great day and bye everyone!